Hey guys, Joe Bonamassa here. Sit back and enjoy the legendary Rick Nielsen. He's the reason why I collect guitars on this episode of KTBA's Artist Spotlight.
My parents are opera singers.
Yes.
And they also sang with Billy Graham, and they sang with church choirs and all kinds of different vocal groups. But it wasn't my kind of music. Yeah. But I never wanted to play what they were doing, and but I always liked music. I was always kind of around it and liked it. And I'm trying to think. So in 1956, my parents bought a music store in Rockford, Illinois. I moved there. My uncle actually was one of the guys that started Muzak. The music they played for in the dentist office, and I used to have to go out and change these reels. The reels were like this big tape, and I used to not very often, but occasionally I would do that. In the meantime, they had the music store, but I didn't know which was a Gibson or a Fender or Martin. I didn't know any of that stuff because they sold mainly sheet music and clarinet reeds and stuff like that. And but I kind of I sort of loved the drums because they were just noisy, and I'm kind of noisy anyhow. So I started playing the drums, and then I started taking a few lessons. The most famous one that I took from was Frank Arsenault. He was on Ludwig Records, dressed up like a drum major, and it's like he did everything, a paradiddle, flamadiddle, all the 15-stroke rolls and all that stuff. I learned all that junk, and I played the drums for about 5 or 6 years, and now I can't play them at all. I say, but like if you're a guitar player, they're a dime a dozen, and piano players. A drummer, they're a dime a dime. So to get a drummer, you need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all it is. I started writing music when I didn't. Who carries around a guitar, especially in those days, or a piano? It's like, but I knew what the notes were. For writing songs, it was like. If you base everything around like Louie, do 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 do, okay, so I could write. Then I'd da da da, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. Okay, and now if I have a little skip a piece, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, so I could write it down where I could understand it without knowing the actual how. Yeah. So the drums kind of probably did help. Yeah, they were there. Yeah. So it's like. What do I do with this? It's like I collected coins and stamps when I was a kid because I saw the beauty in the artwork of the coins and the stamps. They're just unlimited. It's like every penny's a little bit different. 1909 SVDB, 1909. Like I knew them all. 16D dime, that's the one to have. So I studied all that kind of stuff. And back then, you could even in every day-to-day stuff because I had a music store for one. You find Indian head pennies even back then. And so I started doing that, but then guitars, every one of them I'd see, it was like they were all a bit different. Some cooler than the others. Some, everybody liked a shiny guitar. Well, I didn't. Because they were costing too much money, and they weren't called vintage guitars back then. They were just called guitars, used guitars. And so, in 1965, I wanted a Les Paul. I had a record deal with. It's a band called the Grim Reapers. So this is 1967 or whatever. The guitar player that I worked with, he was better than probably everybody around, but it wasn't serious enough. It's like I'd never been to a high school dance or a football game or a prom unless I was playing at it. Why would I want to dress up funny? Well, wait a minute. So I never went to any of that stuff. I had a band. We got signed when I was still in high school to Epic Records. And we were produced by Jackie Mills, who produced Bobby Vinton, and we made a record. We recorded in Chicago, and they changed our name to Fuse. But it was like, and during that time, it was like, that's in 1968 is when I went to England and bought the very first Mellotron. For all you young people, the Moody Blues. Moody Blues had a Mellotron. And the Beatles used the mellotron. That intro of Bungalow Bill. That's one note on the mellotron, because the original ones had dual keyboards. They sound like a flute. They sound like it's tapes. It's huge. I mean, it's like a Hammond B3, except all moving parts. I don't know. I'm crazy that I bought it, but I had it shipped over, and I use it. Well, I have 4 warehouses.
Okay.
And I have a one vault that I have 500 in. I have about 60 or 70 on the road.
Yeah.
We have 2 sets of gear, A gear and B gear. We can play in New York one night and LA the next. Okay. Because we go to Europe, we go to Japan. Excuse me, we put it on send it by boat. So it doesn't cost you $1 million. Like an idiot that would buy a mellotron and have it shipped over.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine it today because they had to crate it up.
No, it's
just had to be $1 jillion.
Yeah.
Risk. I would never do that.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
So over 2,000 guitars.
Yeah.
And
Why, you want to buy some?
You can give me some. I can't
buy.
So 19 studio albums.
Something like that.
Yeah, 6 live albums, a bunch of EPs, and then you were in a lot of movies as well. Too. Yeah. So how did
I wrote the Colbert Report.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I did the international song for Pepsi.
Okay, and Top Gun.
And
Encino Man.
Oh yeah, a lot of movies
I
didn't see.
Forgot. Yeah, you probably.
I've forgotten more than I've ever known. That's for sure.
Well, that's what I want to know. I mean.
Oh, you too.
You did all. You did all these CDs or albums at the time. Do you remember the songs, or do you have to relearn them? What do you do? I mean, do you rehearse them?
Yeah. People say, "Oh, we know your stuff." I said, "We got 25 or 30 albums." I said, "I can't even name more than 10 songs."
Yeah.
But we had more flops than hits. Well, not flops, more unrecognized and never played.
Yeah.
Our set changes every night. Last night we did songs that we haven't done ever.
Wow.
And
How much?
Just to keep our mistakes real. They are.
Yeah.
I think we do about 150 shows still.
Wow.
We used to do about 300.
Wow.
Thank God I had nothing to do this morning.
Other than this, right?
I just wanted to see Annie again.
Yeah.
Have her paint me or a guitar.
So you did Sgt. Pepper's.
We did that, yeah.
You redid that.
Yeah, the Hollywood Bowl people, the Hollywood Bowl Symphony or Philharmonic asked if they saw us. They said, there's a band that it was going to be the Beatles' 40th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper. We went to, Van Halen. We saw these bands. It's like, you're the only band that has a singer that could sing it, and the players, are associated with George Martin and with Jeff Emmerich. Would you be interested? I said, well, yeah, but I'm not a studio kind of guy. It's like I can't play the same riff twice. And I said, but sure, I'm an interpreter. I actually had to practice. I mean, I knew in my head all these songs. I mean, everybody kind of does, but I never put finger to fretboard. So I actually had to learn these things. And some of the stuff is pretty complicated.
It's very complicated.
And so would you want to do it? Sure. We did. The first time we did it, it was 2 shows at the Hollywood Bowl, 18,000 a night, and we did pretty well. Jeff Emmerich, I actually went to England and got George Martin's blessing. I went out to his house. He invited me for lunch, and because we'd known he and Judy since 1979, and so Giles was there with his wife, and I had my wife, my friend, out in the country, and George's cooking for me, and he's walking me around, and I got to take a piss, so I go in the bathroom, and I should have been watching what I was doing, but it's like up on the wall there was a Cheap Trick album right next to Sgt. Pepper, and it's like, I think George probably got out of the trash, put ours up there at the last minute, but so I'd been friends with him for whatever, and I got original charts signed by him. Yeah.
Wow.
Signed by him, and he gave me his blessing to do it. So, and he'd written to me before, and he said, "Rick, superb musician. How come you're so nice?"
Oh, that's so sweet.
But so I'd worked with him there, and then a few years before that, George came over to the States. He did the making of Sgt. Pepper, and he's he was deafer than me. And so, but I went with him, and I was his interpreter on stage. Back and forth. I did that with him in Chicago, where he did these speeches and stuff. So we just kept kind of in contact. I had a Christmas card from him over, and some friends of mine. And then he was over in the States doing Love with Giles. Giles, back in the day, I gave him a bunch of my guitar picks, when he was a little kid and stuff. And then
did you flip them like you do?
Of course I did. Yeah. Try to hurt him. And actually, after George passed away, they invited us to the memorial.
That's a big loss.
And so I went to England, took my wife and my friend went there. Mm-hmm. And so we had pass to get in at this place, and it's like, I go in there and there's all these famous people and stuff, and I'm saying, hey, Elvis. Elvis was with his wife, and there's the guys from Pink Floyd, and there's Genesis over here, and there's this, that, and the other, and it's like, my Forrest's family side. I sat in like the fourth row over there, and here's all these guys, all the other real famous musicians, they're all behind me. I was like, well, okay, cool. So as we file out of the church, Yoko and Sean and Julian were there, because I work with John, I work with Yoko. The day that I worked with John Lennon in New York, my son Dax, who's our drummer, I was there, and we were toasting my son and toasting Sean, who was just a baby then too. And I worked with John there. I talked with him about guitars and mellotrons, and I was supposed to work with him again.
On Double Fantasy.
I worked with him in Double Fantasy, and the next day I was going to Japan, and he said, and he liked my guitar, and the Fender with a string bender on it. I said, I'm going to Japan. Here, you keep it, and I'll get it back, because I was having a guitar made for him too, and so I was talking to Sean, Julian, and Yoko. Yeah, as we were walking out, and all of a sudden someone comes, "Hello, Rick." I said, "Hello, Paul." So Paul came over to me, and it's like, "Hey, screw you guys!" It's like I felt like I was royalty there. And then after that, I walked out of church and got back to the reality.
Yeah. What was John like as a person?
He was great.
Yeah.
When I walked in the studio, I said, "It's you! Oh, it's you!" They thought I was Ricky Nelson. No, I don't know what he thought. But it was a one-on-one kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they wanted me to play something, and I played what I felt like, and they loved what I was doing. And John said to Jack Douglas and Bunny, who was in the booth, he says, "God, this Rick guy, he's like, I wish I could have had him on a cold turkey. He's Clapton choked up."
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
how about that?
Oh,
Whether he did or not, but I felt good. But so I was there talking with John about the Mellotron, like stupid stuff. Yeah. And I said, guitars. I said, that's what I know about. So here's my guitar. Oh, here's the Rickenbacker with a set list from Shea Stadium. Still got his scotch tape to it. And then I picked up this other one that he was playing. I said, John, you're John Lennon. Everybody tells you yes, I'm sure. Like Steven Tyler. Yes, Steven, no matter what he says, yes. And with John, I said, John, you shouldn't be using this. This is a Valeno guitar with a little diamond in the thing. I said, that Mark Bolan, maybe Mark Farner.
Yeah,
Your name ain't Mark. Yeah. So I wanted to take him guitar shopping. I said, I'll tell you what you you don't have to listen to my advice, but I give you the cool advice, not whatever. So we were going guitar shopping, and I had a guitar made for him, and he wanted us later. He talked about he wanted to maybe have Cheap Trick as his band.
Oh, wow.
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah, it didn't happen, of course, as you know.
Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, I know John wanted.
But I got back that guitar 3 years later after he was murdered. I got it from Yoko.
Did? In the past?
We'll play any place.
Still?
Yeah, we just played a Cavern Club. First time ever.
A camera club?
Cavern
Club. Okay.
It's a place in England.
Okay.
Liverpool.
Yeah. Okay. Beatles. Okay.
Yeah. We played there. It's like, and we got a plaque on the wall. And then the night before we were doing a tour with Def Leppard. We had 20,000 people at the place, and the next night we took our own job. Right. We sold it out. Yeah. 300 people. But it was cool, though.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice someone, I mean, you're a real legend. And it's nice that somebody at your stature still comes down. I mean, you seem like the most down-to-earth person I've met yet.
Really?
You know?
Oh, the hell you met?
Really nasty
Gee,
people.
I bet.
Just
Must have.
nasty people. But
I'm just a hick from Illinois.